redefine Lebanon's economic leadership landscape. Is circular economy a key solution to the impending climate change crisis? In our current economy, we take materials from the earth, make products from them, and eventually throw them away as waste. The process is linear. In a circular economy, by contrast, we stop waste being produced in the first place. We're gonna learn more about the concept and discuss it with Mr. Maher Abou Shackra.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, thank you, and I'm glad having this session with you, everyone. I would like first to introduce myself. My name is Maher Abou Shackra. I am the Director of Strategy and Social and Economic Structures at the Solidarity Directory, Lebanon. We exist in this place, as you all know. Before we start, I would like to have know from some of you, those who wish to go now, if you have any idea about or have been engaged or involved in any discussion or maybe courses, sessions before related to the circular economy. Has any one of you before been involved in such a thing? Yes, other than you. Okay, tell us, what have you learned from this? What does circular economy mean to you? Okay, exactly. So basically, as we know, the majority of the business models in the world nowadays produce a lot of waste. And waste, again, causes pollution. And the waste can be very harmful for the environment. Ecologically, they can be very harmful. So the circular economy is a concept which mobilizes or يعني شو نقول تشجيع تحفيز yes, to encourage businesses to adopt a business model which reduces waste or brings them down to zero through several techniques and ways, such as reusing, remaking, and also recycling kind of material. So basically this is it. However, our approach in the Solidarity Directory, we see that making this possible is not only through making new and focusing on business models. It's rather related to a holistic picture, more related to the economic model which we see, especially when we talk about Lebanon, because we all know in the Lebanese concept, it's very important when we talk about the economy to bring the country which we exist in. Each country has a different economic sectors, different economic ways, different economic enterprises, and each country has different resources, types of resources. So we can't just make a certain model and copy it from in every country. So each country has its own economy. So that's why in the Solidarity Directory we worked on creating a certain or forming a certain economic model, which first, we called it, as you might see here and in the document in your hands, the solidarity directory model for a solidarity-based economic network. So we see that this approach in the Lebanese context not only is, now we will see its benefits, but it's not only drives the local economy in Lebanon, especially in the areas, but also it is a way to apply the circular economy concepts on the level of the local economy. So this is the main thing which we worked on in the redefine. As you see, what do you see here? If I might ask you a question, and from the document between your hands, what do you see? Can anyone tell us? What can you understand from this? Is it easy to understand?
Different activities like materials, cooperation.
They are connected. Yes, exactly. They form a network. Okay.
All the businesses from the same sector are grouped together as one.
Mm-hmm.
And they coexist in the city.
Okay. Does any one of you know what is a cooperative or a solidarity business? No? Okay, so a cooperative is an enterprise, an economic enterprise, where people who do the same things cooperate together and form an enterprise which they own it together. And in Mafi business owner, there's no business owner and employees. They own it together and manage it together and control it together and take the decisions in a participatory, democratic way together. So this is a cooperative economic model. So that's why here, this the solidarity-based economic network is a network of different cooperatives or solidarity economy enterprises. As you may see here, there's a livestock cooperative, those who work, for example, in meat they have livestock, the mawashi and so on. There's the home services workers cooperative. Home services, yani cleaning, other plumber, najjar, carpenter, and so on. The meat processing cooperative, laham, meat processing. The bakers cooperative, the dairy products cooperative, dairy, labne, jubne, cheese, butter, and milk, and so on. Then if manufacturing workers cooperative, tailors, for example, small things that can be produced on the local level. Okay, so here imagine a rural area in Lebanon, a small area, on the local level, the things that can be done. We are not talking about now about huge industries. We're talking about enterprises in local areas. There's also the agriculture cooperative, several agricultures, they cooperate together. Usually this is the most existing one in Lebanon. The agriculture cooperative here, the agricultures, they form a cooperative together in order to reduce the costs of production and to increase their sales, they're selling their products, increase their margin of revenues. And there's also the consumers cooperative, the cooperative, the Tawniya, which this is also very, in Lebanon we used to have, now we still have it in some areas, the cooperative where we buy the goods in cheaper prices. Yes, because this cooperative is owned collectively. And there's the municipality, which we see an important role for the municipality, because here we are talking about economy on the local level. And there's also the Solidarity Economy Federation. This Solidarity Economy Federation has an important role in coordinating all this work and also in doing deals to bring a collective purchase of goods from other areas. For example, I will give an example. Let's say we are an area which produces agriculture. Let's say they produce apples, for example, but they cannot, due to their land constraints, they cannot produce potatoes. So they do deals with other areas. Let's say in Biqa, they plant potatoes. Okay, so this does the deals. We give apples, for example, to Biqa cooperative and get in return the potatoes. So such deals are dealt with through this. So here we imagine it's a model which we are now working to apply. Now we are going to the areas. We go to Biqa, we go to Lebanon, to Shuf, to Matan, to Tripoli, Akkad, all areas in Lebanon South and so on, in order to make this really work, to mobilize the community, the local community, to do this. Now, what's the relation between this and the circular economy? I will give an example, I'll tell you a story. There's a farmer, or a group of farmers, in one of the areas which we work with. These farmers usually, traditionally, they used to plant and do the agricultural work and get the produce, and then go and sell it. There's a lot of waste through this business altogether. They don't deal with this waste, because they don't know what to do and how to do it. However, when this model is applied, and this model was really applied, partially, the farmer, he, let's say, they take the hashish from the ground, the grass, and they store it, and they give it to the livestock cooperative, which they use it to feed the cows, and so they don't throw this waste, okay? They give it to the livestock cooperative. In return, the livestock cooperative gives the farmers the fertilizers from the baqaya, the waste. So they give them in return. They use them in fertilizing the land in order to grow better, to improve the use of the production, and so on and so on. And these together work together, or they take from each other the waste and use it in a way, and in return they even, for example, this can make possible, because it's made on the local level, it makes possible the possibility of, instead of using, let's say, plastic containers to put, let's say, the products and the dairy goods and the dairy products and so on, they use glass jars, and they give it and take it back and refill it and so on. So this way, also it makes reduces the waste, it makes this possible, and so on. And you see, in this way, we can really, on the local level, make this circular economy, instead of being, make it possible on the local level. Now, this requires, first, before I move to other topics, was this clear? You understood it really? Yes, please.
Through this whole model, do you think that we can reach a point where we have okay. But if we take, for example, the first.
No, I didn't say yes. I said no. I said so you can continue.
But ideally, what we're talking about here is that we can all find like a common ground, like a solution for a sustainable solution for the whole country to benefit from whatever we produce without the need of importing something from outside. But I have a question, for example, here when we talk about the bakers cooperative. Well, in order for us to go in this field, we need to have a lot of land
Mhm.
to do so. And we lack this.
Because you are, if I might interrupt you, because we need a lot of land to plant a lot of wheat to make
Exactly.
exactly. So yes, I'll talk about this. Thank you. Yes, very important.
So that this
It's very important.
If
Okay.
we're talking about different sectors, we might have a shortage or a lack in a few things. So how are we going to be able to cover
Sure.
these shortages
Sure.
and
Very important question. Actually, there's no country in the size of Lebanon and its resources which will be able to have اكتفاء ذاتي. It's not possible for a country like Lebanon to do this. However, this will help us to do the following. When there are different, let's say this was made on the level of the قضاء or a smaller يعني قضاء أو أصغر يعني اتحاد بلديات Federation of Municipal Federations, yes. So let's say we did this model on the level of municipal federations. Let's say we have, for example, 100 or so municipal federations in Lebanon. These bakers' cooperatives can do together collective purchase of flour from outside with reduced prices. So I will here mention another example. We have a friend which we work with, he's a partner. We do a lot of work together. He used to live abroad in another country, not in Lebanon. He used to live in a neighborhood where there were many shops. You know, محلات سمانة, محلات كيكين. So, and then a huge chain of, these huge chains of mega markets, supermarkets and mega markets open and is next to the neighborhood. And these markets were able to sell the goods at a much lower price than the goods they used to sell it. Why? Because they have the edge and because they bring huge quantities and they store them and so on and so on. So this guy, he went to those who had the small shops and told them, okay, let's organize together and buy collectively, purchase huge amounts. We rent a store, we put the goods in the store, and we purchase huge amounts at a much lower price. So they were able to achieve a price which was lower than this chain. So this shows that cooperative, here for example, the bakers, let's take, without naming any, let's talk about, let's say, any baker. Yeah, whatsoever, Shamsin for example, whatsoever. They buy huge quantities of flour. And this will enables them to produce a lot of bread and to dominate the market and so on and so on. However, if these cooperatives together make a collective purchase, collective imports, even dealing with similar concepts or similar models outside, for example, there are similar models, cooperative models outside Lebanon. So if they deal together, they can bring this wheat without even in Lebanon, the lands in Lebanon, our wheat is good for macaroni. It's not good for bread. We are forced to buy because it has a lot of protein. This semolina, they do the macaroni. It's good for berbor, Lebanon. You see these Mediterranean countries, berbor, macaroni, couscous, etc. They do the same types of food. So our land is good for the macaroni. It's not good for the wheat. Our land is not good for the bread. So we are forced to. It's very good for macaroni, one of the best. So, but we can, however, if they cooperate, these bakers, they can purchase from outside Lebanon. They can purchase collectively huge amounts, and then they will have competitive prices. They can rent stores which are equipped for storage, and they can compete. Okay, so this is the importance of the cooperative models. you can't, in order to be competitive, either you need to have a huge capital, or you need to cooperate to bring forces together. So the cooperative model is the way where small producers all together cooperate and form a cooperative model which enables them to be able to produce the needs of the society. So this is the however, now we know that currently such models will not work for car manufacturing, for huge industries. However, for the industries or enterprises which serve to make the society take its needs, to meet its needs, it's at least to minimize the need for imports, the need for, in Lebanon in the future, in the current economic model, the Lebanese people were forced to import most of their basic needs, the soap, the shampoo, the foods, many of the foods, etc., etc. So these are basic daily needs. So through these models, in a decentralized, solidarity-based economic model in Lebanon, we can at least maintain a very good level of survival, and plus, it will make us able to at least maintain a good level of food security. Plus, we can increase our production and export many of the goods that we produce. So this is the main aim of this model. However, what is also beneficial, also more important, or very important, is the link between this model and the circular economy, which is the main topic today. So here we are talking at the Solidarity Directory not just about a business model within the enterprises. We are talking about a whole economic model which feeds into the concept of circular economy, where waste is minimized and reduced and even can reach null. Okay. There's also another issue which I would like. First, we're good at this. Any questions? Any thoughts that one might? Yes, please.
Which ministries would be involved in issuing policies?
Super important questions. Our approach in the Solidarity Directory, there should be a ministry for cooperatives in Lebanon, which cooperates with all, depending on the sector. But there should be in Lebanon, there used to be, previously, before the new economic model was forced into Lebanon after war, but previously there was a ministry for cooperatives. Our approach in the Solidarity Directive is that there should be a ministry for cooperatives, and it cooperates with agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of and so on, because this is an economic approach. It's a third sector between the private sector and the public sector. It's a third sector in between, collective ownership. None of the sectors can eliminate the other. These three sectors should work all along together. However, this is the third sector, which can be very helpful, very beneficial, especially for the not only for people in rural areas, but also for the marginalized communities. It's a way for them to cooperate together to make to be able to sustain their existence and have financial independence. We have worked with, for example, we worked with gender-based violence, LGBT women, in order to organize different cooperatives which provide services, home services, such as this one. We did this. We did one workers' cooperative, such as this, which produces soap and so on. And we are working to organize many more groups that feed into this model. We work also with agricultural cooperatives in all areas in Lebanon, not all areas, in many of the areas, but we are heading towards working with all areas. So basically this is it. Okay, now I will have a cup of water. I'll be back just. هيدي لحدا. This is هي لحدا. Yours? Okay. Any questions first before we move on? Yes?
So it's like based on clock, clock and هنا they give مثلا solidarity tribes, they give what it's like clock.
مقايضة give no they do their business. They sell and they can, it's their choice. They can, let's say, make similar deals يعني. Depends on the decision of the cooperative. But لا, they sell to the community, they sell to the...
No, I mean between themselves.
They can do this. We have witnessed such models doing this. I just mentioned the one which they give them grass, they make them the alaf, and they take the fertilizer. So this is a form of cooperation, they give and take. Because otherwise they would throw them, they would throw them. And even if they don't want to throw them, they would want to sell them. It's very costly because they need to store them and so on. But once there is an ongoing deal between this local community, these producers, there's an ongoing deal. So it will work. They know what to do directly. So, but they can do this muqayyada problem.
Is this a common model outside of Lebanon?
Specifically this, yes, not very specific. This is like Lebanese context, but there are similar models. Yes, the Preston model. There are similar models. Now the cooperative. If you're asking about cooperatives and cooperative economy, it's very common. Yeah, but also it's new nowadays. For example, France in 2014, just in 2014, and in كم سنة, it's like 8 years. They made this law about social and solidarity economy enterprises, the law which organizes them and so on and so on. So this is new. Not the cooperatives had always been existing since the first cooperative in the 19th century. However, making a full-scale yes, multidimensional, in which organizes all of this concept, all types of, because there are new types, there are always types of, because why? Because the economy is improving, it's developing year after year. There are new products, new challenges. There is the servicing, for example, business servicing institutions. Okay, so these are new. Okay. You know, in Lebanon, there's a cooperative for trainers. Those who do the training, they form the cooperative, and they are working together. So there are new sectors in business. Maybe the coders, these do the coding. They can form a cooperative and provide the service. And there are always new requirements in the business because the economy is evolving and evolving year after year. So there are new requirements, new challenges, which we need to address.
I wanted to ask, is it still existing in Lebanon?
Yes.
Like we don't hear of it a lot. إذا بدنا نحكي, for example, for home services like yeah, like we hear of CAFA for the home services, like people to respect their rights, to follow them. But in Lebanon, we don't hear of it a lot. Is
Yes.
it still,
It is, but okay, so here's the issue. Now, if in the Solidarity Directive we take the government, we would apply it in a year or two. However, the issue is that we do one business, but there are 500 businesses which do the traditional way. So definitely it will not be known. And we don't do this. It's not common. It's still surviving and working and operating, and we are working on making this more and more familiar, doing a lot of advocacy, mobilizing the community. We go visits in the areas, we mobilize the community. This is the model, try to apply it, work it, organize yourself. We can assist in certain aspects. However, it's not common yet, because it's far from the perception of people and the common beliefs. People think that, usually when we go to areas, people ask questions like, is this real? I mean, it's far from what they are used to. So this is a really challenging problem. So yeah, but we are working on this day after day and week after week and month after month. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the difference between a cooperative and a syndicate, or if I want to ask it in a way, who is responsible of handling those cooperatives? Is it the syndicates or the ministry? Because what's the point of having a syndicate at this point? Like if you have different teams and there's a syndicate for each one of them that works on sustaining them and providing new stuff to them, whether it's their rights as a syndicate or
Yes.
cover new stuff. So what's the difference here between?
Okay, the syndicate is another concept, a different thing. So syndicate is, the main aim of the syndicate is to protect the rights of workers and even in their sector, in the workplace, and even in the country as a whole, to make sure that they are getting all the benefits that they have the right to, all the rights are achieved, and they have access to all the rights. This is mainly concerned with organizing the producers to be independent, economic independent, without being an employee in a certain company. So the syndicate is for employees and workers and white collars and so on. But this is, it works to organize the working force in production units and enterprises, independent enterprises, which are owned collectively, managed collectively, and democratically taking their decisions and making their strategies and so on. So this is the different concepts, but they are complementary, very important. They are not contradictory. I mean,
Yes, I just want to add something about this. I work in Solidarity directly, so working on this, we've met with a beekeepers cooperative. So this beekeepers cooperative, they identified more than 20 products that can be extracted from honey and from bees. So basically, after doing that, they started being innovative and doing recyclables from their products. Another one is a fisherman products cooperative. So these people started to do fish ponds in areas outside, not on the sea. So they started doing it internally, rurally. So basically, this having a cooperative model, making people be more innovative because it has multiple ownership. So basically, people. It's not owned by just one guy who has his own mentality and doing the work. Having multiple people doing the same job together will make them be innovative and even give back to the community, because this is the base of it.
Now moving to the, thank you, I mean, exactly. Now moving to the final part, which we focus more on the circular economy and how this can feed into an ecological economy. So basically, here we get, which areas you come from? All Lebanon? جزي.
فنزويلا.
Okay. You know about the Litani River in Lebanon? It's super polluted. So this gives a great example on how things can go so wrong when we don't follow sustainable business and economic models. The Litani, not only it's a very complex issue. However, many businesses and many enterprises and industrial units and industrial institutions, because usually business owners tend to think mainly of reducing the costs and increasing their profit. This is the main drive for them. So this then makes them nearly neglect the ecological, the effects, the negative effects, on the environment, on the nature, and so on. So, for example, in the Litani, because they don't want to make the waste, and they don't want to make the infrastructure which makes use, for example, which makes the waste neither use it nor makes certain تصريف يعني. So they usually follow the easiest path, which is just in the river. And all the waste goes in the river. So this affected all the villages around the river, nearby the river, and also on the Qaraun lake. In the Qaraun, many people live from the fishing, so the fish are dead. Even the smell is bad, so even the touristic areas around the lake are now negatively affected. And this ruined the whole thing just because there's no system, there's no model which gives high importance to the environmental and ecological aspects. So now what we are doing currently, we went to Qaraun. The Amir was having the focus groups and the town hall meetings in the area. And we went there in order to mobilize them, first to get together, because when people get together, they have more power, political power and social power, okay? And to organize themselves in a similar model, which fits the area there. The fishermen, they come together, those who have touristic projects, they come together, and so on, the farmers, etc., to make this. And also, when they have this collective power, they can do a lot of pressure on the government and also on the local authorities in order to make to make real solutions which can reduce the negative effects on their land. So if we manage to do this in certain areas, different groups of villages, many areas in Lebanon, make similar models, this will give us a collective power and enables us to make our nature preserved, reduce the waste, and reach our goals. So, any question in this regard?
We do already have in the government and our laws, policies that protect nature, right? But they're not implemented.
Yes, because why? Because there's this collective power is inexistent. Because in Lebanon, the political elite, political parties divide the people rather than bring them together. So this is they follow this since ever. So people are not, that's why we cannot overcome this except through one path, which is bringing people together, organizing them in order to form a strong political force, which can make this even more and more possible. So definitely, many things that exist in the law theoretically exist in Lebanon, but it's not, nothing is applied. We wish we had the, yes, exactly, but we wish we had the power to make this possible. We don't have the, we are not the government, we can't do this. However, we can mobilize the people in order to, yes, we can mobilize the people. We go to areas, we mobilize them, we organize them, we help, we provide solutions, we provide tools. Okay, so we even, at least, we started out, at first, when we first started, we just were focused on just to listen, this can work. It really exists in the, okay, so it's not imagination. It's something, they become like, oh, okay, so we discuss and discuss, and then we, with awareness comes the ability to organize them, mobilize them towards organizing themselves and applying this form or this model. So our strategy ahead, we are working on making this model, okay, applicable in several areas in Lebanon, mainly all the provinces. We are not talking about the qada, because the qadats in Lebanon are tailored on factors which have nothing to do with economy or social aspects, economic aspects, and so on. They are just tailored to fit those who are in power, so they can remain. That's why we don't take the official distribution into account. We more focus on municipalities, municipal federations, those groups of villages which have common interests and common economic, social, and social interests. So we are working on this. We visit the areas. We try to first make awareness on this model, and then to urge the community to organize themselves and to mobilize them towards making this possible and apply this. If you manage to do this, this will be a huge shift, not only in maintaining, making the society produce its own needs, but also in making the ecological, nature-friendly society. So,
I just have one question. Just on what you choose the cooperatives, like here you have the needs and other stuff, but based on what, like, is this model that is based worldwide, or is it like based on Lebanon specifically, the needs of it?
okay, so here's also a very important question. In Lebanon, the law is still old. So we don't have a law which organizes this kind of enterprises, yes. There's just the traditional form which was made in the 20s, I think, or so, in the 50s, mid the last century, previous century, which mainly focuses on agricultures. So basically we don't have, there are the fishermen cooperatives, the asal, the honey, honey cooperative, honey makers cooperative. But there's no, the laws need to be improved in order to make this even more possible. Now we are trying other methods in organizing in order to, for example, we might one solution can be organizing people in a traditional company and a traditional enterprise, but with democratic principles, working within the available laws in order to try to find solutions. But the laws need to be
So
improved.
your target is not the underprivileged, but I mean a certain economic level of people. We're not talking like big industries of, let's say, pharmaceutical industry.
Yes.
As the operative form of pharmaceuticals, let's say.
This can be possible, but now in the currently, we are more mainly addressing the rural areas and marginalized communities. Basically, these are the two main target groups. But definitely, this model can be done on everything. Another example, which is nice to give. In Lebanon, if you know, there was a huge glass factory in Lebanon, and now it's not working anymore. So there was an idea in one of the groups which we visited, and they wanted to, okay, so let's what can we do in order to own it together collectively and make benefit of it to make it produce the glass. So this is still possible. It can be done, but however it needs funds, support, because and training, and the huge industries are complicated. But this is simple. This can be applied today. However, sophisticated industries, they need time, and they need a lot of investment, and they need a lot of support. And this is nearly inexistent in the case of Lebanon.
Which group was the most enthusiastic or proactive in terms of the model?
The agricultural cooperatives, because they really they are in need. They feel they are in urgent need of this type of
Have you ever reached out to farmers in the Lebanon region?
Yes.
And whenever you discussed the circular economy, how was the reaction? It was accepted?
Yes, it was accepted. We discussed this model. The first step is they are like they did, because they have no previous experience with this, and then they get once this is explained, we start working on finding solution and how to make this possible and applicable, and definitely we start.
And now it's being implemented?
It is already some aspects. Okay, so some of these units are already doing this. What we do is making them cooperate together to form the.
So they are already working on. They do that. Once you put them together.
No, we try to make this possible. This chain, the whole chain. So each one of them, for example, there are cooperatives, agricultural cooperatives in some areas. Okay. But for example, the bakers, no, they work on their own. So we try to influence them, mobilize them to do this, and in order to form this chain as a whole. And it's a long way ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the roadmap.
Yes, it's a long way. It's a long way.
Is it useful to know more about how each and everyone is benefiting the other?
Exactly, but the key is to go to study, to go to the areas, to know the areas, and to know what the area does really produce. Because even, for example, in some areas they used to grow olives. However, their land is not good for olives. So one season the olive crops are good, the other are bad. So they need a lot of training on how to do things, what's suitable for their land. So these are many complicated things. That's why we need to study the areas, each area alone, to know what's possible to do, what are the possibilities, what we need to do to get from other areas. This is how we build the network, on the local level and on the national level. So it goes both ways. Thank you. Okay, well, if you have no more questions, yes?
How do you fund these projects?
How do we? Talil Tadamun, we have the Solidarity Directory, we have like a balanced, yes, no balanced part of our funds volunteering, our team volunteers to do, and part is done in cooperation with international organizations. So it's like 50-50 or 40-60 even. 60 is volunteering. Yeah.
How can they get out of this one?
These people,
Yeah.
they sell their produce.
You as the solidarity.
Like I said, 60%. We do a lot of volunteering work, and we do cooperation with international organizations. For example, once we worked on this, let's say, gender-based violence, women who organized to form these two cooperatives, one for soap making, one for home services. We did the cooperation with CAFA and with the United Nations. So the United Nations was responsible for funding the training and the research activities and so on. Because when you want to do this, you need to see what the community needs. You remember in Lebanon there was the financial collapse, the financial and economic collapse. So, and then we studied the local community, what are the main needs that they used to get, and now they are unable to get. So we found that these two were most urgent. One is the home services, because previously they used to bring domestic workers to do the homework and so on. Now it's not possible, so working women and working men, they need some people to do some of the housework. So that's why we found that this was urgent to initiate, and that's why we initiated the home services cooperative. And the other was the soap, because the soap was becoming more and more expensive because it relies mainly on imports and it's very expensive. That's why we formed the Protect Life cooperative for soap, which we the women. This is the the tanjara. We use it. They use it. The women use it to make the soap. So basically, yes. So that's how we. So there are research activities that we need to do in order to assess what the society really needs now, and this was funded by the United Nations UN Women. So basically this.
So do you choose what projects to work on, or do people come to you? Because
Both.
I see this fine, like I'm looking for a job, I have a project, blah, blah, blah. So can anyone that is in any of those cases just come to you and contact you?
Yes. So it's both ways. Some people come to us, and another. And for this plan, we usually go to areas in order to, like I said, to make this possible, in order to organize them, mobilize them, awareness, and so on and so on. So we usually go to these areas. We ask them, okay, come on, what are the main productive forces in this area? What do you rely on? What do you do? So it depends. Each area has its own economic activities. So we go to them and we work to organize them. In some cases, no. They, for example, these women, there were women who needed economic independence, financial and economic independence, in order to, get out of the situation which they are living. So that's why they came to us and we did the work. So it's both ways. On the macro level, we go. On the micro level, or the institutions in their business, they come to us. So that's why I say it's both ways.
Anyone?
Okay. Done.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maher Abou Shackra, for sharing your experience with us and for this informative talk. Okay, so after 2 days full of panel discussions, workshops, networking, and activities, so our Rising Minds reached an end. So thank you, President Al-Khanas, for being here with us. Thank you, Senator Rania, Councillor Hana, MPHS, and of course, my upcoming president. Thank you for everyone in JCI Beirut and JCI Zahia board and members, and everyone who showed up. Also, thank you for everyone who was part of this event and helped to make this happen.